Hello, my name is Rich Litvin, and this is a series called Provocative Questions. I love the study of language, and particularly the derivation of words, where words come from. Language has such power, and the word provoke or provocative has a negative connotation in this day and age, but it really means to draw forth, and the job of an extraordinary coach is to draw forth their clients. And one of my favorite questions is not really termed in the words of a question. It starts with these words: holy shit, Rich. So what I do, I sit down with a client and I say, hey, before we begin, I'd like you to imagine that 3 years have passed and you call me up on the phone and you start with these words: holy shit, Rich. And then you say, my life is amazing. My business is extraordinary. And I say, wow, tell me about them. And then in real time, you tell me about your life and your business or your relationships, whatever else you want to create, as if they're happening right now. This isn't, well, in 3 years' time, this is what I'd love. This is, you're literally on the phone with me, imagining what you'd be saying. Holy shit, Rich. Let me tell you about my business. This is what I'm creating. These are who my clients are. This is what I do. Let me tell you about my life, my family, my relationships. Holy shit, Rich is a great way to get a client to go off into the future, to envision the future, but then speak about it in the present tense. And see, here's the trick. The future doesn't exist. All that exists is the present moment. And so when I have a client begin with the words, holy shit, Rich, I've taken them off 3 years into the future. They've described the world they'd love to create for themselves. And they bring it back into this present moment. And then their job is to start from here. I've just saved them 3 years of their lives. So let me tell you a story about one of my clients. She came to me as a leader in the tech world. She's an aerospace engineer by background, creating a company that deals with exponential technology. Really fascinating game, but at the same time, she was transitioning into being a professional coach. She was adding these skills to her repertoire as a leader. And she'd read a lot of what I talk about when I teach how to create an impossible goal. A goal that's literally impossible for you to make happen. That because it's impossible, you can't turn it into a 17-step plan. So instead of becoming a place to get to, it becomes a place to come from. And she said, well, I'd like to make $80,000 in my first month as a coach. And I laughed and I said, well, I know I'm the impossible goal guy, but I'm about to tell you that maybe some goals are more impossible than others. And because I have a track record of helping coaches launch very successful businesses, maybe it's a little ambitious to go for 80 grand in your first month. And she listened to me and we laughed. And then she said, no, I'm sticking to this one. I'm going to make $80,000 in my first month as a coach. And I said, okay, well, I believe you. I believe you. And then this has to be a place you come from, not a place to get to. It doesn't matter whether or not you make these $80,000, but who would you have to be an $80,000 a month coach in your first month of coaching? And then show up that way, serve people powerfully, make a difference. And so she did. And then she texted me on the last day of the month and said, I'm sorry, Rich, I failed. I only made $79,000 this month. And we laughed. And then we sat down for a coaching session. And we said, okay, you're someone who likes to dream big and play big and create big. What's next? She said, well, I'd like to create enough money so that myself and my husband and my family can have a lifestyle which means that we can relax about making any more money for the rest of our lives. I said, okay, well, that's a big goal. Is that it? And she said, well, no, there's something else that has to be present true. And I like to put a rider on a goal in its own that sometimes needs another piece for you to relax into it. So for her, I told you, she works in this world of exponential technology. She knows how to hustle. She knows how to work hard, and she knows there's a price to pay because she's paid it. She's worked and created a lot of success in her life And there's been a price to pay. Her health, her relationships, her state of mind, her peace of mind. And she said, I don't want to make this amazing amount of money if it's at the cost of my health or my state of mind or my relationships. I said, well, now we have an impossible goal. I'm making enough money to sustain my family for the rest of our lives without having to work again. And I do it in a way that energizes me and makes me come alive. And we laughed because she said, now that's really impossible. Well, almost a year later, I got a text message just last Christmas, beautiful Christmas present. She said, Rich, my business has just been valued at $1 billion with a B, and her take-home share is $200 million. I'm not used to saying these big numbers, right? Her take-home is $200 million. And then she texted me and said, and I feel more alive, more energized, and more healthy than I've ever been. And you know what the 3 words she started her text message to me were? Holy shit, Rich. Holy shit, Rich takes my clients off into a future, and then they come back to this present moment and make that future real. It's what I call generative language, and there's so much power in it. Now, I can't promise you $1 billion if you play this game. What I can promise you is you can create the future if you're willing to speak it into existence. And most of us don't. Language has power, and generative language has the power to change your life. I'm not promising you $1 billion simply because you say, this is what I'm creating. What I can promise you is if you're willing to play this game of holy shit, Rich, if you're willing to play this game of creating an extraordinary future by speaking it into the world, your world will transform.